There may or may not be a child army civil war happening outside of our apartment here. We're not sure. We're too afraid to go outside and check it out. Oh, Jesus.
It sounds bloody.
It sounds like somebody just lost their life. So if you guys hear children screaming outside, this is not in fact being filmed inside of a sweatshop, but outside of a bloody civil war with children, apparently.
Yeah.
We do not condone child violence.
No.
Okay, now that that's been completely set aside and we can get all the legalities with that out of the way. Scribble Sketch. Good Lord, what were you thinking? Why? Why Yog? Out of all of the amazing J-rulers that could work with no resonators in a deck, why Yog?
Oh, this was like one of the hardest things we had to do to, well, I guess that's why I challenged, but like, even still, that was tough. Literally every time we were having trouble thinking of something, I was kind of that annoying guy in the background that was like, you know what would make this better? Let's put resonators.
Let's put resonators into the deck.
Just to bug you.
Or the other times would be like, do you know what would make this Yog deck so much better? If Yog wasn't the ruler. Like, what if we make oh, good Lord. See, even the kids don't like Yog. They're like, Yog is a great ruler, but he needs resonators to win.
They're just screaming every time you say Yog, I think so. Alright, so...
Okay. So, the challenge, guys, if you guys are watching on our channel and you don't know what's going on, we're doing our little weekly Force of Will deck construction profile challenges with another amazing YouTuber called Scribble Sketch. You guys can check her out. There's going to be a link to her most recent challenge video. I think she posted it this week on Wednesday in the description. So the challenge was build a Yog deck with obviously Yog as the J ruler, and the deck can have any colors, anything from, I guess, non-Wanderer format, but it can't have, wait for it, any resonators. So it's a deck with Yog with zilch, zero, nada, absolutely no resonators. Which is funny because when I was first thinking up of our first profile challenge before we did the Millium, I was like, hey, Dayman, what if we did a no resonator deck? And now every time that we worked on this deck, Dayman's like, hey, how great is the no resonator thing, Master Fija?
Yeah, I was that guy. Anyways.
Okay, so Yog is I think he's an amazing J ruler / ruler when you use him properly, or just use him in, like, I guess,
kind of a guerrilla tactic.
Yeah.
Which is what we decided to do.
So we're not going to bother going over what he does. Actually, you know what? Whatever. Let's just do it. Okay, so he's got Judgment, Black, and X, and he's got Energize, which is awesome. He was from the first set that did it. And then on his other side, which is Yog-Sothoth, the Chaos of 1,000 Doors. He's got the ability Limit X +1, so that means that when you Judgment, even if you put in only one black, you're always going to have one limit counter.
Yeah, so right? It's if you play just the black and X is 0, it'll come in with one limit counter.
Yeah. So it enters with X +1 limit counters on it whenever this card attacks or blocks, so he's just like Azathoth. Remove a limit counter from it. Then he's got, at the beginning of your turn, destroy all resonators with total cost equal to the number of limit counters on this card, then remove a limit counter from this card.
No, that's at end of turn.
Sorry, turn, wait, what did I say?
You said at beginning. At end of turn, you remove or destroy all resonators total cost equal to the number of limit counters on this card, and then remove a limit counter from this card. So if you end up flipping, and you have one limit counter, and you attack, you remove it, you're at 0, then at the end of turn, you destroy all tokens. So all cost 0.
So essentially, he would do the same thing that Nidhogg does for tokens.
Yes.
And that's actually how we're going to be playing him in this deck. The way that I've play tested this deck, you want to just flip him for the 1 towards his Judgment, attack with the 1 turn with the haste from Laevateinn, which we will see later in the deck profile, and essentially flip them over. You'll take the 500, which is the next ability, and I'll go into in a second. And then if they've got any tokens, they're gone.
You found that was best done on like turn 2 or 3, right?
Yeah. Depending on how much I stall, because after I included white into this deck, there's a lot more stall, so you can actually get a lot higher or a lot farther into your stone count, and then you can put a lot more into his damage to like just finish him off in those 2 hits. And then the final ability on here is, at the beginning of turn, if there are no limit counters on this card, put it into your ruler area as a ruler. If you do, you lose 500 life.
Yeah, so that could be at the beginning on your opponent's turn. So at the beginning of turn, anyone's turn.
Yeah, and since we're running this deck as black, green, white, we're not running red like Scribble Sketch ran in her deck. The only way you can win in this deck is to have him hit. So essentially, you don't want to put in more than one into the judgment, because if you keep him onto the field for more than one turn and he's tapped out, somebody can just precision into him or black moonbeam him or whatever, right? Yeah. So you want him to be able to flip back on the same turn that you've essentially attacked. And that way you take the 500, whatever. We have so much life gain in this deck that's not that big of a deal, but you keep him alive because he's literally the only way you can win this deck.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Ruler.
So let's start with the, well, this deck has the kind of cards that, you love the most.
Regalia. I hate Regalia. Okay, what's the proper way to pronounce it? Is it Regalia or Regalia?
I think it's Regalia.
Okay, so the first, and actually one of my favorite, to be honest, is Deathscythe, the Life Reaper. And, I mean, it's got a huge chunk of text there, but really we only care about the first little bit. Your opponent's J-Rulers lose and cannot gain Imperishable and Swiftness, which is phenomenal against Lumia. Now, we used this deck against Lumia several times. We couldn't beat it, but we definitely slowed it the hell down.
Yeah, and you tried this out against the Turbo Feasting build, which is
and it worked. Yeah. And it worked. And technically, I only had 2 matchups, and technically I lost the first one, but that's just because I had a misjudgment of what I should be tutoring in the deck for. If I had grabbed my Interdimensional Escape, again, later in the deck profile, then I would have won. Yeah. Anyway, so it's got that, and then also, like most of the really good Regalia, you can tap it and your J-Ruler gains +200/+200 until the end of turn, which is awesome.
And if they blow it up, you can remove 3 cards from your graveyard from the game and put it back in your hand at any time.
Good call. So it's kind of like self-recycling. We're not going to be working too much out of the grave. We do have a few things with Revenant, but that's not a big deal. So we're running 2 Deathscythes, the Life Reaper Regalia.
Okay. Next one, we're running at 4. We don't have all 4, but we have proxies.
Yeah. I didn't buy too many of the Versus decks or any of the old ones. So essentially we're running 4 of the Laevateinn, the Demon Sword, and it's got your Ruler gain Swiftness, which is amazing. Again, turn 3 or turn 4, we want to be able to Judgment him. We want to be able to give him flying with a card, which we will see later, and be able to give him Swiftness. Also, it's got the ability to discard a card named Laevateinn, the Demon Sword, and produce red. So you have to have one of these in your hand if you want to produce red, but we don't run...
And one in play.
Do you need both?
Yeah, you need one in play, and then you discard the other one.
Oh, right, because it works off of the ability of the card. Yes, you need one on the field and then one in your hand, but we don't need red, so that's not going to be a thing. And then you can also banish a Resonator, recover this card. That's going to be fundamental in this deck.
Yeah.
We could not run this card without the ability to banish Resonators. Remember that. And then finally, it's got banish this card. J-Ruler gains Imperishable until the end of turn, which is really good. I haven't really seen the need to run it too much, but you could do it
because of the Guerrilla tactic.
Exactly, you're going to be bashing into your opponent.
He's going to have 1 limit counter. He's going to use it at end of turn or beginning of their turn. He's going to flip back over and be safe.
Yeah, and of course, just like with the Deathscythe, you can tap it, and it does an additional 200 damage when he attacks. He doesn't get 200 and 200, so he doesn't get additional toughness, but whatever. He's beefier. We just need him to hit, survive, and then hit a second time and win. Yeah. So 4 Laevateins. Hate them, but you need them.
All right, then we have...
now we're getting into the Chants. Oh, and check out that awesome Halloween promo. That's my goodness.
Addition. So that is Barrier of Shadows. So your opponent pays 1 more to play Judgment abilities or God's Art abilities.
Yeah, or God's Art abilities.
And then pay 1 more to play abilities of Regalia, so like the tap effects of Regalia.
Yeah, so it goes from essentially costing 0, or in some cases they do actually cost stuff on some Regalia, right?
Yeah.
Goes from 0 or whatever to costing the 1. This card, like specifically we put in here to deal with Lumia, but it can deal with a bunch of other rulers that...
Try and take away their quick flipping, swiftness, aggression.
Yeah, so essentially it just slows things down so that we can get the right amount of stones out so that we can set up, hit them twice, and win.
Yeah. All right, so next...
Oh, and there's 3 of those, if you guys couldn't count. We're running 3 of the Barrier of Shadows.
Okay, next one is Gathering of Fairies. So just a 1-cost chant. You gain 1,000 life. Just to kind of keep us in the game a little bit longer.
It doesn't have as much flair as the other cards, but it's why we have white in this deck. We need to be able to survive long enough to set up and win. So, really good card, 1 drop, 4 of them, run it.
Okay, next one is Dreams of Flight. So 1 cost, quick cast, Remnant, Force roll to get that extra little power, and gain flying until end of turn.
What's that one Regalia that gives you flying?
Interdimensional Vessel Apollo.
Okay. I saw this Scribble Sketch ran, I think, 2 or 3 of those in her deck. I can't recall from the profile. But the reason why I chose to run this instead of that is because this thing has Remnants, so I'm guaranteed to be able to cast it twice, right? And if the game goes on long enough, your opponent is most likely going to lose track of what you have in your grave. So you can kind of just spring this out on him after you've stalled for a couple of turns and you've got a decent amount of stones. Ideally, and I've done this through playtesting, you do not want to cast it for both its first cast and its Remnant on the first turn, because if you can't find another one of the other 3 in your deck, you're gonna be pooched. We used to run this deck with some Excaliburs in it as well, and that definitely made it more likely for him to be able to hit for all 40 HP, like the 40 life points to win in the one hit. But since we're not running as much Regalia, since I hate it, and it kind of threw off the balance of the deck, you need to only cast one at a time. Okay, I need to stress that, because if you run both at the same time, it is very, very unlikely that you can hit for the full 40, and they might even be gaining life throughout the deck, like with Lumia. So only cast it once, and then wait for you to build up enough attack so you can cast it a second time, and then win with the second hit. I've almost never won in one hit. It just doesn't work with this deck.
Yeah.
So running 4 of those, fantastic. That's why we have white.
All right. Next one is Final Forfeit, one of my favorite cards.
And it's weird because, and we're running 4, we'll just say that right off the bat, but keep that in mind. It's weird because it's a card that came out in TTW, the Twilight Wanderer.
Yeah.
But I don't see it played that much, even though it shuts down almost all J rulers. It's amazing.
Target J/Resonator loses all abilities and cannot gain abilities until end of turn. So if we're casting the Dreams of Flight to try and fly, we just cast that on a flyer.
Yep.
And they can't block.
Yeah.
And
then you hit. Especially if it takes them a few extra turns to get out a flyer, like if you're not going up against a Turbo Gwibber, Feasting deck or something like that. Because a lot of decks don't.
Fairies or something.
Yeah, like a lot of decks don't run flying that much. When I first started playing the game, I didn't have flying in a deck.
Flying's pretty common, but it's usually later in game unless they're playing like Fairies, for example.
So if you hit them that one time and then you're building up for the second hit and they put out their flyer because they are like, oh yeah, I won't attack with the flyer, I'll be completely fine, I'll have something to block his attack and he won't be able to go through, and then I'll bash him for a game. You drop one of these bad boys and then suddenly you swing in and you win. Not to mention the fact that, again, another reason why we put this into the deck is to deal with Lumia. So when Lumia hits the field, if she sacrifices that Cthulhu chick, Yog-Sothoth or whatever,
Yog-Sothoth removes it from the game, yeah.
Then she's getting lifelink. She's most likely she's gonna have swiftness, and you're probably gonna give her flying with
and
that.
She has imperishable.
And she has imperishable. So you drop one of these bad boys. She loses all of her abilities, and then the next card that we're gonna show you finishes her off.
And this can also be used in combination to kill Fox.
Yes, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about that. Everybody's getting all like nimbly pimbly about this thing. They're like, oh no, Fox can't be targeted, Fox can't die, Fox can't whatever, right? Well, unless you drop this bad boy, he loses his abilities, and then you drop this, and then you just laugh all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
You're done. You win. The deck is complete garbage after that point.
Yeah, because they always run the Chimeras in sideboard, so once you get rid of the Fox, then
they pretty much don't have a deck.
Yeah. They have a bunch of little piddly guys that can't do crap.
Little piddly. I like our like really like whimsical, flamboyant vocabulary for this.
Yeah.
So Black Moonbeam, phenomenal. Everybody knows what it does. It's got Chant Instant, which a lot of people forget. So you can definitely keep those 2 black open and then attack them during your opponent's turn. And ideally, you keep 3 open, 1 green and 2 black, and then you just take them out with Final Forfeit and Black Moonbeam combo.
Yeah, and we have Search in the deck, so it's not like the one Black Moonbeam is going to be impossible to find.
Yeah. We run 1. You should too. I've seen people run 2. I tried the deck with 2, but again, it threw off the balance, so I only use 1.
So we have more filtering in this next card. So Foment of the World Tree.
Would never have even thought of this card. I actually, it's funny because Scribble Sketch put it in her deck. We made this deck like early last week, so you know we're not plagiarizing or anything.
Yeah.
But this was definitely 100% Damon. I'll let you explain this one.
So for 2, it's a chant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your main deck in any order. So it can be 0. You could just play it, and then you draw that many +1, so you just draw 1 card and gain 800 life.
Which is phenomenal because we've got enough green in our like mana base that having a 2 hard cast green is not that bad.
So
you get to draw at least one
filters.
card.
Yeah, it can also filter out cards you don't need, and those two in combination with the 4 other life gain cards, we have the ability to gain 600 life.
5,600 life.
If you get all of it.
Yep. Which is amazing. That card's definitely saved me in a few matches.
Yeah. And then we have 2 Heavenly Gust.
Now, Heavenly Gust is a godsend. I can't thank the card developers of Force of Will more than the development of this card. Like, Regalia was just so ridiculously aggressive and so overbearing in the previous sets. Everyone ran it. But as soon as people saw this on the draft of the Curse of the Frozen Casket, they're like, okay, the age of Regalia is dead.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And it was just kind of annoying because, you know, we started after that stuff came out, so it was really hard for us to kind of like start playing when everyone's got all these great Regalia and they just bash you with their ruler and you're like, I've got a starter deck.
Yeah, I can do great things. So it's a 2 hard cast card. It's a Chant and it's got quick cast, which is amazing because one thing that I found when I was going up against Dayman's Lumia deck was that he would run essentially the same thing with having the Deathscythe on the field, so I couldn't use my Laevateinn to have the ability to just swiftness right into him.
Counters your Regalia.
So what I did was I would Judgment the Yogg, then I would play some other like pimbly card, like for instance Dreams of Flight, and then I would torrent this in, which is amazing. It's in the ability. So choose one, destroy target addition or Regalia, or torrent if you played another card this turn, destroy all additions and Regalia your opponent controls. So
it's both.
It's both if you torrent, but it's important that you keep enough mana open that you can do the torrent, because if you do this during your turn, then the other guy is just going to siphon cards out of his grave, put the scythe back into his hand, and then just play it next turn anyway, and then you lose swiftness. You got to do it when you're attacking.
Mm-hmm.
So we run 2, phenomenal card. Anybody who can run green and doesn't like Regalia, join the Regalia hate train with me, and you know, run them in your deck.
Yeah. So next one, Interdimensional Escape.
Oh my goodness. I actually didn't know about this card until recently, and it is a phenomenal card. So it is from Battle for Adoratica, and it is a 3-cost card, 2 hard, yeah, instant Chant, 2 hard white, and then 1 colorless. So this is it actually hurts our deck too. Just let me read this ability for you. Each player chooses a resonator they control. You with me? Then each player banishes all other resonators they control.
Oof, that's gonna hurt us.
But I think it's worth it. I think the sacrifice is worth it.
Yeah, so it's really good against big board presence decks like Turbo Feasting, for example. Gets rid of all their stuff down to 1, so they'll probably keep a Gwyver. And they're like, oh, I'll block your guy with that. And you're like, Final
Just
Forfeit.
kidding, Final Forfeit. Yeah.
Lol. Yeah, so those are really great to have, and you can search for them, so that's why we felt 2 was more than enough. So we have more deck thinning here. We have 4 rewriting laws.
Yep, and it's actually really good because even though the balancing for our stones is actually really good, it's always just favorable to be able to just tap stones for whatever. So it's a 2-cost card, 1 green and 1 colorless, and has the ability magic stones you control tap to produce any color.
And when you play, you untap 2, so it's essentially
a free card. It's a free card.
And you draw a card, so it replaces itself.
So if you get this card early game, as long as you've got green in your magic stones, use it, and then you can cast your stones for anything.
Yeah, and you get a free draw.
And you get a free draw. It's a good way to thin out the deck, and we don't actually have that much card draw on the deck, so this is a bit of a godsend. I really like it.
Yeah. So the next one is another stall tactic. We have 4 of this. How do you pronounce that?
Let's see. It's Amaterasu. Amaterasu's Foresight.
Yeah.
I'm learning to read. Okay, it is a Chant. It is quick cast, 2 cost, 1 colorless and 1 white. Prevent all damage that would be dealt by J rulers this turn. Also, I don't know.
J/Resonators.
J/Resonator. Sorry.
So it's a nice little stall tactic. When you're facing a big board presence on their side, they swing with 1 guy. You play that, prevent all damage, so they're not going to attack with the rest. And then next turn you Interdimensional Escape or something.
Yeah.
And clear their board or something.
It's a really good card because like I was saying with the previous stall tactic cards in the deck, you got to be able to make it to your turn 3 or make it to your turn 4. And if you're going up against a really aggressive burn deck or something with a bunch of swiftness or somebody getting out their Lumia at turn 3, then you got to be able to prevent that damage.
And, you know, it pairs really well when they have a big board presence, even if it's a lot of flyers, so you prevent the damage their turn. You go into your turn. Even if they have a lot of flyers, you cast Streams of Flight on your ruler, you attack, they go to block with one of their flyers, and at that moment you cast Final Forfeit, so that flyer loses the abilities, therefore it cannot block, and then your attack goes through.
Yep. The thing that I love about this deck is that realistically there's only one way to win, but all of the cards play off of one another. Like, you've got so many ways to get to that victory, and I love it. So I'm running 4 of these Foresight. I don't remember how many, if I said how many I'm running for the rewriting laws, but 4.
4 rewriting laws, 4 of those. And then we have 4 Fated Reunion.
Not, are you sure it's not Fated?
Fated Reunion? It's either one. So, this card is interesting. So for 1 black and 1 colorless, choose one. If you control 2 or more Darkness J/Resonators, you may choose both. So literally impossible.
Never gonna happen. Just not gonna happen.
So search your deck for a card, then shuffle the rest of your deck and put that card on top of it, or draw a card. So it's really nice to just be able to search out for what you want and put it on top. So then you have your next turn plan like set up.
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, there's only like 3 cards you're going to be looking for with these things. You're going to be looking for your Laevateins if you don't start off with 1. You're going to be looking for your Dreams of Flight. And if you need it, you're going to be looking for your Foresights, right? Or actually, technically a 5th card. Did I say 5 cards?
I think
Laevateinn, Flight. Yeah. Okay. I'm also learning how to count. Thanks, guys. This is a learning experience. Thank you for being part of my life.
Are you going to be searching for your Final Forfeit there?
Final Forfeit.
Yeah.
No, not Final Forfeit. I actually see Final Forfeit almost every game, which is, I guess, one of the added benefits of running 4 cards in the deck of that type. But what was the card I was thinking of? Okay, so Dreams of Flight is one. Your... Interdimensional Escape. I don't know why I completely goofed on there. So if you're running up against a deck that the dude just dropped like 3 or 4 beefy creatures and you're like, okay, I can stall with my Foresight this turn, but I need to be able to get rid of these creatures immediately, look for it, next turn, play your Interdimensional Escape. Yeah. And then they've got 1 creature and you're laughing all the way to victory because they've got nothing to block your flying.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I'm running 4 of these Fated Reunions. Honestly, if you have the room in a deck and you're running black, you should always run 4 of these, depending on your needs. But I always run 4 in my black decks.
Yeah.
So this was.
And then we have the stones.
Stones. I thought we were done. We were done.
Nope. Get out of here. All right. So we have 4 magic stone of black silence. So green black is one of our major colors here, and then we have 4 magic stone of Heaven's Rift. I love that name.
Doesn't it sound like a metal band?
It does.
Heaven's Rift. Woo! That's gonna have like a weird volume inflection on the video. I can just see it. People are gonna like blow out their speakers when they hear me go woo!
Yeah, you should put a little notification before that. Just be like, get ready.
Yep.
And then we have 2 magic stone of Gusting Skies, so green white, just to even out the color balance we have there.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I've been thinking that I might rebalance this so there are 3 of the Heaven's Rift and then 3 of the Gusting Skies. It's kind of a toss-up. It can be good either or, but this is how I run the stones in this deck particular. So, that was it. Oh, dude, we should tell them the Resonators. We haven't shown the Resonators yet. Just wait a sec. Let me take out the... Oh, just kidding. Nothing. There's none. There's no Resonators.
No.
You can thank Scribble Sketch for that one. Thanks, Scribble Sketch. This was
insanely tough.
Like, we rebuilt this deck probably like, how many, like 3 or 4 times?
Easily.
We tried with blue and you're like, and we needed like 2 cards. We needed the thing that bounces things back to your hand. What's that one called? The forecast? Rising from Depths. Then we had red in here and we're like, no, we don't want to run red. We want to run this a little bit differently, so. Okay, that was our 3-color Yog deck. No Resonators, ton of fun.
Guerrilla tactic,
freaking...
You know, pop it for 1, or just 1, nothing into the X, 1 limit counter, Laevateinn, swing, and then at end of turn, or at beginning of their turn, it'll pop back on the ruler side, and you kind of just play tricky like that. Keep them on the ruler side as much as possible.
Yeah. And if you get Black Moonbeamed, you literally just, you extend your hand, you shake your opponent's hand, and then you walk home and you cry. So that's it.
Just as a heads up, if you wanted to have a sideboard, you could definitely run...
Counters?
No, not counters.
Wind Secluded Refuge?
Yeah, Wind Secluded Refuge.
Oh, right, you can't counter Black Moonbeam. I'm going to counter you, Black Moonbeam. The guy laughs at you, and then he walks home because he knows he doesn't have a challenge there.
Yeah. So Wind Secluded Refuge would be definitely a good card to put in. You could probably find a spot to put it in, replacing something else. Maybe take out... what's it called?
Probably Barrier of Shadows.
Yeah,
because like Barrier of Shadows, you could get rid of that entire block and then put in 3 Wind Secluded Refuges.
And you can search for it. So, if you want to have a sideboard, if you're playing against black and you find that they're going to be black moonbeaming everywhere, then...
They run 4 of them just because they're like super terrified of J-Rulers.
Yeah, and then they luck out against you. So definitely play a Wind Secluded if you're playing against black and you feel that they might black moonbeam.
Yeah, or just like be very conscious, right? Because if you're going on your turn and you're going for the attack, and again, I need to stress this, only pop him for 1 judgment. He's going to flip over at the end of your turn, so just make sure...
At the beginning of their turn.
Yes. Well, at the end of your turn.
No, it's at the beginning of the turn. If they're in
well, yeah, but they couldn't cast it anyway,
no,
right?
So you gotta watch their stones.
Just watch their stones. Make sure that they don't have 2 black open, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, this was our deck, Scribble Sketch. Thank you for the challenge. We will come up with one, and then we'll challenge you for next week. Actually, I had a lot of fun with this. It was ridiculously frustrating, but I had a lot of fun, and this is weird because I've been wanting to make a legitimate Yogg deck since this card came out, since I thought he was one of the coolest arted cards since Curse of the Frozen Casket, but again, he's kind of a fickle bastard, and he's hard to make decks with.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was our Yogg, no Resonators, ton of fun deck. Hope you guys like. Leave some comments if you guys think you can make this deck better. We challenge you to do it. Do your best.
I might even go on first comment. Add Resonators.
Add Resonators.
Yeah.
Add Resonators. And I will actually just create 15 different accounts just to dislike that comment 15 different times.
All right.
Okay, guys. Like, subscribe, send us our love, send us your hate.
Send us our love.
Send us our love.
Anyways, video is extremely long right now.
Okay, bye.